So today we have Chris, and Chris has been a MyNurish customer for some time now. And thank you, Chris, for joining us today and sharing a little bit of your story.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So I guess I'll just start it off with a simple question. What possessed you? What actually was happening in your life, or what was it that influenced you to do something about nutrition in your life at the time that you started with MyNurish? And why us?
Well, I think I've always been a little on probably more of I try to be healthy. I try to have always eaten healthy. And it probably kicked in it was a little more prevalent when my son hit 3rd grade and they had a science class and he learned all about fats and proteins and carbohydrates and vitamins. And he came home one day and said, "Mom, we can't eat at McDonald's anymore. It's not good for you.
Wow.
We have to go to like Subway." That's what he said. So we kind of started changing up, and of course our kids grow and they start playing sports, and you want them to be healthy, and that they need good nutrition, and he's growing, and so we just, I think, really started focusing more. I've never been a huge processed food person, although like everybody, I had plenty of boxed items in my cupboards. And
Sure.
as he got older and his focus really became healthier, he started working out. And so mom has to, you just want to go along with that flow, and your food has to match. And so we garden, we have lots of fresh vegetables. And somewhere along the way, I found about, your product, and probably through, some friends who I think had it. And I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" And it looked good, and it actually tasted good, considering it's a green powder.
Yeah.
And, I'm not the best at taking pills, like vitamins. I mean, I take a few every day, but when it comes to like a multivitamin, even way back when I was younger, it was, all different companies over the years. And I always remember one with, well, like, does your vitamin dissolve in water easily or not? Like that
Right.
always sticks in my memory. And I'm like, well, if I take this big tablet and it sits in my gut and processes all the way through, am I really getting anything out of it? And so when I find something in powder form that I can put in a shaker bottle with water, and whether I chug it down in the morning, which is kind of, I think, in the beginning stages, my son and I we'd have a quick, we'd make a shaker of it and we'd share it every morning. Like, okay, here's your half, here's my half, slam it, and out the door we'd go to school and to work and such. And then I think because it is a powder and it's easy, and I know my body's going to digest it. And it says, right, well, I have your jar. Brought it right here. It's well, it's good. I have to look at my flavor. I forget which one it is, but it's all natural and can read all the ingredients on the back, which I really like. I like knowing, and some of them are not common, which I think is also good.
Right.
Growing up, I grew up with hydroponics. My dad had, several containers doing hydroponics, and he's always kind of, way back in the day of Amway when it was a vitamin company. And so I've kind of grown up a little bit with vitamins and being healthy and things like that. And this makes it easy. Not that I'm taking them. Well, I guess it's kind of a multivitamin in a way. At least that's kind of how I think of it. I'm getting kind of everything I just really need. And it's easy. For me, it's easier than taking a pill. Some people may not agree, but I think it's easy. And the fact that it tastes pretty good is even better. Of course, I think by my ordering the cherry, what is it? Cherry apple. What do I get? Cherry apple
Cherry.
vanilla
Yeah.
is my favorite. And then the mango passion fruit.
It's the
Yeah,
passion fruit. Yeah.
that's my other go-to. And when my son is off in college now, so I usually every quarter send him with a container, or whenever he needs one. Actually, he just came home from college and he's like, "Mom," he goes, "does that place ship to other states?" because I ran out and I need some. I said,
That
yeah, honey, I'm pretty sure they do.
that's pretty cool. You touched on so many things that I think resonate with so many people in terms of why they just in general look to nutritional products as a solution for their everyday sort of healthy needs that they have with their lives. And you also touched on some really great things in terms of what we did when we went through the process of creating this product. What we did, and we thought through all these things, the convenience of it, the flavoring of it. We wanted it to be a good experience because people were going to, think of the green blend, and, all sorts of things would be conjured up in their minds. And we knew that we wanted it to be something that families would enjoy, not just the adults. So I mean, you really touched on a lot of things, and the fact that you had a childhood where your parents were really kind of, or had already started thinking of the necessity of nutrition. I mean, it was kind of a trend-setting thing, trailblazing thing for your parents, because as you know,
Yeah.
nutrition hasn't always been on the forefront of people's minds. So wow, I mean, you really covered it all, and I'm glad that in a sense our product has been able to do that for you. So were you, obviously you were really thinking about your son a lot. That's what kind of got you going in this path, and the gardening that you do as well. But were you specifically, you yourself, were you kind of trying to address any kind of particular health goal, whether it was an ailment or just staying healthy? Was that anywhere in the equation?
Um, well, I think so. I mean, I'm a big believer in what you eat, how you eat, eating things in moderation is key. It's
Yeah,
super key. Like, I don't need a bunch of drugs. I don't, I rarely have to go to the doctor. And if I do, it's for like an ear infection or strep throat. I mean, I don't want to go to the doctor. I have a niece who's diabetic. She's type 1, so it's not anything in her control, so to speak. But
right,
there's so many things that are in
right.
our control. Diabetes, or not diabetes, but just anything. It's,
Yeah,
I had a friend cure herself of cancer, and it doesn't go for everybody by any means, but if you eat well, I personally believe you can fix a lot of issues. And I know and I've read Charlene's story.
right.
You guys have experienced that with your product, and the beta glucan, which I have in my kitchen as well, and sometimes the whey powder. But you need to get a healthy balance, moderation. And now in my cupboards, I have very little processed food. I'd rather take the time and cook healthy food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then not. And the superfoods just kind of fits into that. It's like sometimes even in the afternoon, I'll just put it in my shaker bottle at work, and I'll sip on it more than just shake it
Right.
up and just drink it quick, because I can do that, and it tastes fine, and and I can take it with me in a water bottle. When we go camping, a lot of times I will pack that just as extra, because I know I might not be eating the best when I'm camping, so at least I know I'm getting stuff that I need.
Yeah, I tell you
And that
again, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I really, again, you just hit so many incredibly salient points, because like I think about, you were mentioning how busy you are in your day right now. I mean, you work multiple jobs, you're on the go, and yet you look great. Not that I would know, but I mean, you have a shine to you, and I wonder, does that translate into just your general health in terms of, have you had or experienced a lot of ailment in the last several years? I mean, with everybody getting so sick now from all sorts of things, um, I mean, has this helped you in staying healthy and productive in places like at work?
Well, I'd like to think so. I mean, I really haven't been sick much. I mean, I had influenza 9 years ago, and I had a little sickness a couple years ago, lasted a couple days. And I've outside of a little cold here, and I had a cough about 2 months ago. And I think that was from, you know, you kind of catch it from people at work. But with right now, like how flu is going around, and there's always somebody at work who, thankfully we're all set up to work from home now. So it's like,
Right.
oh, so and so's out today. They're working from home. They don't feel good, or they have a touch of the flu, and knock on wood. But I try to take my vitamins every day. I take my drink every day, or, when I remember. Sometimes I forget, but I do. I really attribute a lot of it to staying healthy, and I don't really get very sick. And I think it's because I try to stay very aware of what I eat and how much I eat. And, you know, I, I think it helps, when I pay attention to what I eat and I exercise, then, at least I stay moderate,
Right.
my weight
Right.
stays pretty good. I think I do stay pretty healthy, and having something like the superfoods, just to me, it's just kind of a one-stop shop. It's got a lot of great stuff in it, and it's got stuff that other products don't have. And I think that's the other thing that I like, because it does 37 plus
Right.
clearly, and a lot of them have 3, 4, 5, 6, not 37.
Yeah.
And
And, you know,
I think that's just a big, big difference in the market. So,
do you recall, I mean, not that you have to know exactly, but you've been taking our products now for at least a good 9 or 10 years, right?
it's got to be, because I think when I started, my son was in like middle school playing football. And I think that's around the time when, one of the other parents, I learned of it. And so it's been, yeah, and he's 24 now. So it's probably a good I would say at least 9 years.
So not to necessarily, obviously you can't necessarily prove this, but one can't prove it. But around the same time that you started, all this time now, you've been, relatively speaking, pretty healthy compared to a lot of people and what they've been going through, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, you know what? I like to think that that has a lot to do with the fact that you're taking a lot of high-powered nutrition that is just, keeping your body replenished and keeping it strong throughout the year, not just in the wintertime, but in every time of the year. So
Oh,
um
yeah. And it's great in the summer on ice, like with a lot of ice. It's refreshing. So
exactly.
I
And
do.
believe it or not, we actually did, as we were formulating the product, we wanted it to have that feeling when people were drinking it, especially, people work out and stuff, they want to drink, obviously a lot of fluids, and to have that refreshment feeling as it was going into your
Yeah.
system was really key for us. So listen, one thing that I want to know, because you've given us a lot of great information here, a lot of good background about your story and why you chose to go with MyNurish. I guess the one question I would have as we kind of wrap up is just if you had one thing that you would want to share with people relative to your experience with MyNurish, or potentially their experience, or maybe, assuming that some of people are on the fence with why go with MyNurish, what would you tell them?
Well, I do actually suggest, depending on who I'm chit chatting with, and like even at work, I'm like, oh, I got this great powder. And I usually just bring a little Tupperware container, and I say, here, try it out. I mean, why not?
Well, why not?
But that's kind of, you know, it's a great product. I think people should just try it. But I think the big thing for me is it's convenient and it tastes good. And I think price wise, it's comparable to pretty much anything out on the market. I do love it when you guys do the bundled sales, because that's generally, I think, my history is I buy when they're like 3 or 4 for whatever.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I monopolize. Now I'm sharing with my son too sometimes, but it's it's easy and it comes within a couple days. And you guys have been really consistent as well. And I've never noticed a change in the flavor, the texture. And I appreciate that, because I have some other friends who have tried some other, just various products you know, the whole health gamut. And
Yeah.
I know like one, she had a product and then I'm like, oh, how's that going? She goes, oh, I don't take that anymore. She goes, they changed the formula
Yeah.
and now I can't, now it bothers me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, that's a bummer, you know?
Yeah, no, and
Um,
a lot of people don't realize, not that we share this, but we are here, is that it's really hard to keep formulas together. And sometimes it's intentional. People do it, companies do it for all sorts of reasons to cut corners and whatnot. But sometimes, like in our case, it's just, you're putting so many nutrients, so many different ingredients, and a lot of this is organic and natural, and it's not always easy to get access to them or to, if you do, to make sure that they're of the same quality that you have always had and maintained. So I do appreciate you bringing that up, because that isn't something that, I mean, we struggle with that all the time, but we have tried as hard as we can to keep that the same, so the experience is the same. And you obviously have noted that. So thank you.
yeah. And I know you guys do high quality ingredients. And to me, I just, you know, I like that. I think it's important. You know, I don't want just off the shelf drugstore, blah, blah, blah. I mean, some things maybe that's fine, but for something like this, you know, and any vitamin, mineral supplement, anything, I think you're wise to do your research and find something that has good ingredients, a variety of ingredients, and again, convenience and taste to me are huge. And then with that, it is a value, especially with the bundle pack. So those are my three big takeaways that I usually share with people.
Well, listen, I appreciate your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this and sharing a little bit of your story. And um,
Yeah, thanks for having me. I
I look
appreciate
forward,
it.
yeah, I look forward to having an update on where this all goes in another 10 years. Is that a deal?
It's a deal, and I'm always willing to be the product tester. So
All right,
if there's
sounds
ever
good.
anything new on the horizon,
You got it. We know where to go. So thank you.
perfect.
Thank you so much. Really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Have a great holiday. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You too.